Look at USAID. I think we probably caught way over a lot of billions of dollars already.
Following President Trump's inauguration, he introduced many new policies that left the nation in disbelief. From implementing strict immigration laws to an executive order,
President Trump has promised to deport millions of immigrants to their home countries.
Involving the Gulf of Mexico.
Changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
But nothing could have prepared the public for what happened next. Trump ordered the immediate arrest of all USAID members. Not only that, he also suspended the agency for 90 days. This bold move stunned everyone. However, things took an even more shocking turn when Elon Musk made claims about the agency. But what led to Trump's drastic decision? Join us as we uncover what happened when Donald Trump ordered the arrest of all USAID members. Trump ordered immediate arrest of USAID members.
Federal judge lifted the block on President Trump's plan to pull thousands of USAID staffers off the job.
The news of USAID members being arrested by Donald Trump's orders is due to the recent discovery in the agency. Shortly after Donald took over office as the 47th President of the United States, he alleged wasteful spending by the agency through various channels. And so, when reports surfaced that large amounts of money sent to foreign governments often disappeared due to corruption, Trump ordered a full investigation. His team, determined to track every dollar, found that money meant for helping poor nations was ending up in the private accounts of powerful people. Investigators discovered that funds set aside for disaster relief in an African country had mostly vanished, leaving little to show for it. Instead of being used for schools, hospitals, and food aid, the money was stolen by those in power. But things did not stop there. Stay tuned for more shocking details. The lack of accountability in how the money was spent became a major concern. A former USAID worker, who later exposed the truth, said that once the money left the U.S., it was nearly impossible to know where it went. Among the people who spoke out is the president of Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky, who claimed his country's military has received only a portion of the more than $175 billion in U.S. aid meant for Ukraine's war against Russia. Many projects were announced with big promises, but when people went to check, there was nothing there. Hospitals that were supposed to be built remained empty land, and schools that received money were left unfinished. When investigators looked closer, they realized that without proper tracking, millions of dollars had been wasted every year. Moreover, this failure to properly manage funds led to shocking cases of wasted money. Auditors reviewing USAID's financial records found a pattern of reckless spending. One example was a $10 million plan to provide clean water in a war-torn country. Instead of finding the cheapest and most effective way, USAID hired contractors who charged high prices, and in the end, only a few wells were built. This kind of mismanagement was found in many other projects, proving that the system was broken and that the people who needed help were still suffering. Meanwhile, Trump's administration was angry when it became clear that money meant for economic growth was ending up in the hands of the rich instead of the people. Businessmen and political leaders in recipient countries used USAID funds to live lavish lifestyles, buying luxury homes in Europe while their own people lived in poverty. But that's not all. A former ambassador admitted that foreign aid money had long been a way to keep corrupt leaders happy rather than to truly help the poor. When this news reached the American public, there was outrage as taxpayers realized their money had been used to enrich foreign elites instead of improving lives. It was also found that USAID funds had been used to strengthen foreign militaries instead of improving infrastructure. Leaked documents showed that some governments had taken money meant for rebuilding after a war and spent it on military equipment instead.
Look at USAID. That's one. We're going to look at the military. We're going to look at education.
In one case, funds that should have been used to build schools were instead used to train soldiers. Trump's administration saw this as a misuse. Money that was supposed to bring stability was being used to increase military power instead. To make things worse, better ways to give aid, like directly funding local charities, were ignored. Experts had long said that working with smaller, local organizations would be more effective because they knew what their communities needed most. But USAID continued to work with big international companies, which led to more delays and higher costs. Trump's team saw this as more proof that the system was broken and that immediate action was needed. At the same time, the investigation found that technology like blockchain and biometrics could have made fund distribution more transparent. But USAID never used these methods. Experts said that blockchain could have allowed real-time tracking of every dollar, while biometric systems could have ensured aid reached the right people. However, USAID refused to update its systems, keeping old methods that made corruption easier. The refusal to modernize not only cost the U.S. government billions, but also made Americans lose trust in foreign aid programs. In addition, the harsh truth was that even after spending billions of dollars, there was little real improvement in the recipient countries. Despite decades of aid, many of these nations remained stuck in poverty, with little progress in healthcare, education, or roads. Reports showed that economic growth in these areas was slow, and ordinary people saw no real change in their daily lives. This raised a big question. If all this aid wasn't bringing results, then where did all the money go? It became clear that corrupt officials misused aid, leading to more economic problems instead of recovery. Financial experts studying USAID's work found that in some places, aid money actually hurt the economy instead of helping it. Some governments became too dependent on US aid, so they never tried to develop their own industries. Trump's administration saw this as a major problem, arguing that USAID's policies had done more harm than good over the years.
Look at USAID. I think we probably caught way over a lot of billions of dollars already.
Above all, the high cost of USAID programs placed an unfair burden on struggling American taxpayers. While middle-class families in the U.S. faced rising costs of living, they had no idea that billions of their tax dollars were being sent to ineffective programs overseas. Trump, known for his America First policy, used this issue to gain public support. He and his team made it clear that American money should be used wisely, not wasted. The fact that USAID had misused funds for so many years only made people angrier, demanding that those responsible face justice. So after gathering the evidence, Trump ordered the investigation of key USAID members involved in the financial scandals. The move sparked mixed reactions. Some saw it as a necessary cleanup of a corrupt system, while others thought it was just a political stunt. The era of unchecked spending at USAID had come to an end. But then, aside from mismanagement of funds, it has been alleged that USAID is used for political interests. Let's find out more on these allegations. How USAID is used for political interest. Although USAID may have good intentions from the start, when political aid is sent to a country, it often results in changes that go beyond what was originally intended. USAID was first created to help people, but its money and support have been linked to political interference. Countries that once welcomed its aid sometimes find themselves in trouble later. This pattern has happened many times, leaving behind problems that were never expected. At first, USAID's work seems helpful, giving aid to struggling nations, supporting economies, and strengthening democracy. But under this good image, there is a deeper issue. The aid often affects who gets power in a country. Leaders who align with U.S. interests seem to get more support, while those who do not face challenges. Instead of simply helping, the agency has been accused of picking sides in foreign politics. Likewise, history shows that USAID has helped in influencing elections in other countries. There have been reports that the agency's funding sometimes influences who wins. While the agency says it helps democracy, many believe it actually decides which political groups succeed. In several places, opposition groups have been trained and funded, making elections unfair. This creates doubt about whether the results reflect the true will of the people. The U.S. spends huge sums of money to support certain parties, finance political campaigns, and silently champion the agenda against current leaders in the media. In South Africa, parliamentary elections in 2024, the outcome of these elections were totally unpredictable. However, the ruling party failed for the first time to win more than 50% public support in opinion polls. There were reports that the U.S. through USAID had influenced the process. Not only that, but USAID's actions have added to global tensions. In Georgia, USAID played a part in creating the political situation that led to the 2008 war with Russia.
Some of the region's fiercest fighting here for more than a decade. Russia says as many as 2,000 people.
The agency pushed the country in a direction that clashed with Russia by supporting leaders who wanted closer ties with the West. This led to a military conflict that affected the U.S.-Russia relations. Many later asked whether the aid truly helped Georgia or just made it a tool in a larger power struggle. Ukraine experienced a similar issue where USAID funds helped bring political changes that worsened relations with Russia. As Western-backed policies took effect, tensions between Ukraine and Russia grew. Eventually, Russia took Crimea, and the conflict in eastern Ukraine began. These events did not just affect these two countries, they caused global disagreements that still exist today. Meanwhile, instead of bringing peace, USAID-backed projects have often made conflicts worse. The agency has unintentionally created more division by helping certain political groups. In countries where power is already unstable, foreign aid sometimes sparks more fights. Civil wars and long periods of unrest have followed U.S. involvement in multiple regions. Additionally, protests and riots in different countries have been linked to USAID's support. In places facing social unrest, reports show that money from the agency has gone to groups that later led mass protests. These movements often claim to be natural, but financial records suggest that outside funding plays a big role. Beyond that, there is another shocking claim. Recent claims suggest that USAID may have, knowingly or unknowingly, sent money to groups linked to terrorism. While some believe this is true, others strongly deny it, saying there is little proof. This issue has led to serious debates, with a U.S. senator making strong accusations about how USAID handles its funds. On February 5, 2025, Senator Joni Ernst raised concerns about USAID's financial mistakes.
About how their use of taxpayer money makes the world.
She said the agency lost track of millions of dollars meant for aid, and some of this money may have ended up with dangerous groups. One case she mentioned involved $9 million, which was supposed to help people in need, but was instead received by violent organizations. She also pointed to Chemonics, a company working with USAID, which was accused of overcharging the U.S. government by $270 million. Some reports say this company even gave money to the Taliban. Even though Chemonics settled the case by paying above $3 million, many believe it shows a bigger problem within USAID. Senator Ernst also claimed that USAID was not honest in its reports, hiding important details and making it difficult for people to investigate the issue. However, the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, Richard Mills, responded to similar claims about USAID's activities. After meeting with Nigerian officials, he denied that USAID funds were reaching Boko Haram or any terrorist group.
Of the violence of Boko Haram and Boko Haram's contempt for human life than the United States.
Mills said there was no real proof behind these claims and assured that the U.S. has strict rules to prevent money from going to the wrong hands. He also said that if there was ever real evidence of such an issue, the U.S. would act quickly, working with Nigerian authorities to stop it. Even worse, history shows that some governments that received USAID support later turned against the U.S. Some leaders who were once treated as allies later changed their positions. In certain cases, these leaders even used the resources they had received from the U.S. to fight back against American policies. This has created a cycle where aid that was meant to help ends up working against its original purpose. Beyond that, the Arab Spring protests showed how aid money was misused. As demonstrations continued across the Middle East, reports emerged that U.S. funds were spent on things they were never meant for. Money that was supposed to support economies was instead used to fund political movements. These events raised serious concerns about USAID's transparency and how well it manages its funds. To make matters worse, many Americans do not know that their tax money is being used for political activities in other countries. While most people think their money goes toward helping poor communities, a large portion is actually spent on influencing foreign politics. Beyond political influence, USAID is reported to be having a negative impact on the citizens. How does it affect U.S. citizens? Stay tuned for more details. Impact of USAID on American citizens. The way the government spends money has always caused controversies. Some believe helping other countries is important, but many people now ask if that money should stay in the U.S. Instead of helping people in other nations, they think it should go to problems at home. As more Americans struggle with daily life, this issue becomes more serious. But while billions of dollars go overseas, life keeps getting harder for many families. The cost of living keeps going up, making it tough to survive. Also, young people in America are drowning in debt from college loans. Many take out big loans to pay for school, only to spend years trying to pay them back. The debt makes it hard for them to buy homes, get married, or save for the future. Even though many students need help, the government keeps sending money to other nations. This makes young Americans feel like they don't matter. At the same time, the country's roads, bridges, and public places are falling apart. Many schools do not have enough money to give kids a good education. Public transportation is outdated and slow. But while American cities and towns suffer, the government funds projects in foreign countries. People wonder why their roads are full of holes while new roads are built somewhere else with their tax dollars. Meanwhile, healthcare in America is too expensive for many people. Millions struggle to afford doctor visits, medicine, and insurance. Some skip treatments because they cost too much. Yet at the same time, the government sends large amounts of money to improve healthcare in other countries. This makes people upset because their own healthcare system is broken. They ask why their leaders don't fix problems at home first. Studies show that many Americans think their leaders focus more on other countries than on problems at home. A December 2023 Pew Research Center survey found that 55% of people believe the U.S. should pay less attention to problems in other countries and focus on issues here at home. Not only that, a June 2024 Ronald Reagan Institute poll showed that 62% of Americans feel the country would be better off by staying out of global affairs and putting more effort into solving problems at home. Another survey by U.S. News and the Harris Poll found that 86% of Americans are largely disappointed in leaders, and 84% believe there is a leadership crisis in the U.S. government today. The government keeps saying that foreign aid is necessary, but many people don't agree. They argue that helping their own citizens should come first. People want to know why their struggles are not treated as a priority. More and more Americans now believe the government should stop sending money abroad. They feel the economy is getting worse, yet politicians seem to ignore it. They see businesses closing, wages staying low, and prices going up. At the same time, they watch billions being given to foreign countries. And this is what Trump's administration is currently trying to address by suspending USAID. However, the media has criticized this move, calling it a selfish one. But why do some media outlets oppose Trump's decision to reduce foreign aid when so many Americans are struggling? We have got the full story next. Why Donald Trump faces criticism from the media. When Donald Trump announced he wanted to remove USAID, some media outlets quickly pushed back. They wasted no time warning people about terrible consequences, making Trump's move sound careless. However, there was more behind their reaction than just concern for foreign aid. Their deep connection to USAID became clear. While many Americans thought these media outlets were only trying to protect foreign aid, others started wondering why they were so against shutting it down. The truth was that USAID's work was not just about helping countries, it had helped in shaping news stories. Many journalists and news analysts had links to USAID, making their reports less independent than people believed. Because of this, USAID made sure that certain ideas dominated global news, controlling how people viewed wars, economies, and U.S. policies. For example, news companies in countries that got USAID funding knew they had to be careful. If they wanted to keep getting financial support, they avoided saying anything bad about USAID. Criticizing the agency could make them lose their funding. This meant stories about USAID's failures, mistakes, or hidden goals were either ignored completely. Media understood they had to follow the agency's preferred message, or they might not survive. Moreover, USAID's role in global conflicts could not be denied. When a crisis happened in another country, Americans heard about it through news stories that were carefully shaped to match USAID's interests. Instead of getting a full picture of the situation, people got a version that supported USAID's goals. This happened in many war zones, where news coverage often sounded exactly like USAID's arguments when asking for more money from Congress. Not only that, but the way these reports were presented had major effects. When news outlets always showed USAID as a force for good, people were less likely to ask if foreign aid was really working. At the same time, USAID's funding system made media outlets act like quiet supporters of the agency. Whenever Congress had to decide on funding, journalists and analysts who had worked with USAID in the past wrote articles pushing for more money. These reports shaped how lawmakers thought about USAID, making it easier for the agency to get what it wanted. Congress members often based their decisions on media reports, not on real investigations of whether USAID was truly effective. Beyond that, USAID's control over information was not just limited to news organizations. In many countries where it operated, governments that benefited from USAID's money had little reason to allow independent reporting. Instead, they cracked down on journalists who tried to investigate or expose corruption in USAID-funded programs. They made sure media reports remained positive, preventing the public from hearing the full truth by blocking these voices. To make things worse, this controlled reporting made it seem like USAID's aid was more successful than it really was. By focusing on positive stories and ignoring failures, the agency made many believe that its programs were always working. Countries struggling with poverty, violence, and poor leadership were still presented as success stories. This difference between what people read in the news and what was happening on the ground made many question whether USAID's work was as effective as it claimed. On top of that, USAID's influence shaped how Americans understood global problems. Many people formed opinions based on news reports that had been quietly influenced by USAID, often without realizing it. The carefully crafted stories made sure that only certain viewpoints were accepted, while other opinions were ignored or dismissed. This made it hard for people to think freely and see the bigger picture. Meanwhile, the war in Ukraine was one of the clearest examples of this problem. As the conflict continued, news stories matched USAID's message perfectly. The way events were reported, the focus on humanitarian aid, and the discussion about U.S. involvement all fit USAID's goals.
Diseases like Ebola from arriving here in America.
Any opinions that questioned this approach were pushed aside, showing how strongly the agency controlled the flow of information. Beyond media support for USAID, there are more serious allegations against the agency. Elon Musk has weighed in with his own accusations. What he revealed left everyone in shock. What Elon Musk revealed about USAID. Elon Musk's recent claims have sparked an intense debate over the role of USAID in scientific research, specifically concerning biosecurity risks. He alleges that the agency, which is meant to provide humanitarian and developmental assistance, has unknowingly funded harmful scientific projects. His statements, shared through social media and interviews, have made many people question how USAID spends its money. The agency has always been involved in global health, but if its funds have helped risky experiments, there is a serious problem. Many people now want answers about how this happened and whether the agency is being careful enough. Also, the way the money was used is a major issue. Musk says that instead of funding research to improve health, large amounts of money went to projects that made dangerous germs even stronger. Some reports claim that certain foreign labs used USAID money to study and change germs in unsafe ways. If taxpayer money helped create biological threats, it is a serious concern that needs urgent attention. The idea that funds meant to help people might have caused harm has made many demand an investigation. At the same time, there is little transparency about USAID-funded medical research. Journalists and independent researchers have tried to get details but have struggled to find full records of how the money was used. Musk's comments have made people even more suspicious that important information is being hidden. Some believe the agency does not want to reveal everything because it would cause a public outcry. This has led to calls for all funding records to be made public so people can see exactly where the money went. Additionally, the risks of these studies may have been ignored. Musk and others say that many of these experiments were not checked carefully enough. Without strict supervision, some research projects may have gone too far. History has shown that even well-meaning research can have bad results if safety rules are not followed. Without a strong system in place to watch over these studies, accidents or even misuse could become a real threat. Some of these studies have already led to unintended consequences. Reports suggest that some research funded by USAID ended up creating new risks instead of solving health problems. For example, some scientists modified viruses to study them, but the changes made them more dangerous. Supporters of this research say it helps scientists prepare for future pandemics, but Musk and others argue that the risks might be greater than the benefits. The argument over whether this type of research is necessary continues. Likewise, the lack of strict rules has made people worry more about biosecurity. Global health experts have warned that weak rules about scientific research could lead to serious dangers. Musk's statements have made people afraid that some USAID-funded labs may not have followed proper safety measures. If true, this could be a big threat because dangerous germs might accidentally leak or fall into the wrong hands. The idea that research funded by a government agency might not be safe has added to the growing concern. Because of this, people are calling for more accountability in government-funded research. Health experts and policymakers are saying that USAID should have clearer rules to make sure research is safe and useful.
This is a constitutional crisis that we are in today.
Funding should only go to projects that follow strict rules and report their findings openly. Musk's comments have increased pressure on the agency to prove that its projects are truly helping people. Rather than spending money on experiments that could be dangerous, critics say USAID should focus on real medical help. Many believe the agency should concentrate on providing health care, improving hospitals, and preventing diseases. Musk and others have pointed out that millions of people still lack basic medical care. Yet huge amounts of money go to uncertain scientific studies. Using those funds for immediate medical needs could save lives and regain public trust in the agency. If USAID shifted its focus, it could make a bigger impact on global health. As this issue continues, people are still skeptical about how research money is spent. But then, what is the future of USAID given that the agency has faced so many allegations? Keep watching to find out. The future of USAID. The future of USAID remains uncertain, with two possible outcomes. Either it will be reformed or completely shut down.
You can see someone ripped off the tape covering the signs, the engraved sign on the glass over the door.
For many years, the agency has been responsible for sending US aid to struggling countries. But now, there is a strong debate about whether it should continue in its current form. At the center of this issue is President Donald Trump's plan to merge USAID with the State Department. His administration believes that this change would make the agency more efficient, stop wasted spending, and ensure that aid serves America's interests. Bringing USAID under direct government control can better monitor how funds are used. However, some experts worry that this would weaken the agency's ability to operate effectively. Meanwhile, billionaire businessman Elon Musk has taken an even stronger position. He has called for USAID to be shut down completely, saying that the agency is full of corruption and waste. Musk believes that government-led aid programs often fail and that private organizations would do a better job. His comment has gained support among people who think the U.S. should spend less on foreign aid. However, critics argue that Musk's claims about corruption lack proof. The situation became even more serious when USAID was suspended for 90 days. The suspension stopped many critical programs, leaving people around the world without much-needed help. The move has also sparked intense discussions in Congress and among international leaders. If the agency stays closed beyond this period, it could mean the end of one of the most important aid organizations in the world. Even though some people want USAID to be shut down, others believe it should be reformed instead. They argue that the agency is still useful and that its problems can be fixed. Instead of getting rid of it, the government should focus on making it more effective. If USAID could improve how it operates and spend money more wisely, it might regain public trust. However, making these changes will be difficult, especially with pressure coming from different sides of the debate. To fix these problems, many experts suggest making USAID more transparent and accountable. One idea that has gained attention is using blockchain technology to track aid. Blockchain is a digital system that keeps a secure and permanent record of transactions. If USAID used this technology, it could track every dollar spent. But that's not all. Others believe that instead of relying on government agencies, it might be better to send aid through private organizations and NGOs. These groups often work directly with communities and can respond faster than government programs. At the same time, some people believe that USAID should focus more on domestic problems. If any of these is implemented, it would completely change the agency and reduce the U.S. global influence. But with the 90-day suspension still in effect, the debate over USAID's future is becoming more intense, and only time will tell the future of the agency. What do you think about President Trump's move to abolish USAID? Do you think USAID has more negative impacts on the American citizens and other countries? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, click on the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it.